Welcome to episode 16 of the Trail Times podcast with Big Bear Events. So this is a little bit different to normal because most of these podcasts have been after an event. However, we're at the end of the school holidays, which means that we've not had an event since the 13th of July. It's currently, as I sit here, the 24th of August. So it's been 6 weeks without an event. We haven't got another event yet for 3 weeks, which is Trailfest at Cannock Chase Forest. But I thought I would put a podcast out because it's been quite a long time since I've done one of these. And I know how this works. If you don't do something for a few weeks, people think you've either gone out of business or you're not going to do it anymore or you've disappeared off the face of the earth. So I thought I'd put one out. There's been stuff that's happened. I'll catch up on things that are going on. But you've not missed an event. There's no event that we're catching up on here. It's been the last podcast. I can't remember what I said at all. But that was a cracking day. That day at Combe Abbey for the Swan Challenge and then the Summer 10K. Really, really good. Incredibly hot. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see as we go through this that I'm getting hotter and hotter. I don't know why it's quite so hot in my little office. I think it's because we've not been in it all day. It's not even hot today, but I've been out for a run and I can't stop sweating. But I wanted to try and get this done, so apologies. So hopefully you're only listening and you don't have to see man just sweating in a shed at the bottom of the garden. Yeah, so there's been some stuff going on. I can't remember if I mentioned it on the last podcast, but it sounds pretty sad, really. But I've bought a new van. So this is the first time that I have had a van for the business. It sounds sort of boring. You're like, okay, great, a van. And I mean, it's not that exciting, but it is something that is going to be a bit different. I've had it all branded up as well, which is quite nice. So it's got Big Bear all over it and it's got some stuff down the side and on the back and on the front. So hopefully that will work out nicely. I don't know if it's of any interest, and tell me if it is, but the costs of things like vans and things like that are all of these costs that when you enter an event, especially when it's a smaller sort of lower budget type event like Big Bear, you enter an event, you're like, oh, I'm paying 40 quid and, get a medal and a flapjack. Okay, yeah. But there's all these other bits that go on in the background that, to be honest, unless you actually work in it, you've got no reason to ever think about it at all. But I don't know if it is of interest to go through just the budget of just getting to the point where people can start running. For reference, the vans that I've been hiring pretty much since the second year, I think, of working, they were costing me towards the end £200 for each event, which as a one-off, fine, whatever. But when you're paying that out 15 times a year, and then for the bigger events it was more like £300 because I'd have a bigger van for longer, it adds up and it adds up and adds up. And so buying a van, the idea is that if I I fully intend to keep doing this for as long as I possibly can, but at least the next 5 years. If I go for the next 5 years and the van doesn't decide to fall to pieces, he hopes, then it will have paid for itself and I'll be up on the deal. But at the start, when you're paying, it was less obviously because we're going back 5 or 6 years, when you're paying out £200 or 120, I think I started off paying £120 per event, to then look at a van and think, well, that's a lot of events I've got to put on to then pay for that van. You've got to pay for the insurance, you've got to pay for tax, you've got to put it somewhere, you've got to do all these other things. And now that I'm 120 plus events in, it now makes sense to buy one and have one and to have my own. And then hopefully that's going to make my life easier, because the the setup of how I do events was very much dictated by when I could pick the van up and when I needed to load the van up. Because if I had the van for a week beforehand, I'd have to pay for that. Well, I don't want to do that. So I'd try and get it as late as possible, and everything would be really cut quite fine as to when I had to load the van and do this, do that, do this. Whereas now, because I've got the van, I could load it up 2 weeks before and then it will be ready, and then essentially I've just got to go and pick it up the day before or whenever. Or I could do it the week before and just leave it at my house. So I'm hoping it's going to make my life a lot easier rather than just be the absolute bane of my life because it breaks down all the time, which it did do as soon as we bought it. So I did use it for the Swan Challenge, went to go and fill it up the day before, moved it around, parked it, started loading it, went to start it, having loaded it all up, wouldn't start. Brilliant. Okay, this is excellent. Wouldn't turn over at all, just nothing. So I'm like, okay, well, seems like I've killed the battery. And then getting to the battery on a van isn't as easy as it should be, and you jump it, fine, okay, brilliant, we got it going eventually, and then it then didn't go again, and so the battery was completely duff. So then luckily my dad is very handy with things like this, changed the battery over and it was all fine. It's been fine since, and hopefully it was a minor issue, but things like that might drive me slightly insane. But we've got this van, so you'll see now Big Bear van that is going to be at all the events. You'll see the Big Bear van out on the road as well. So do just continuously honk your horn if you do see me. But hopefully it's a little bit of advertising as I move about, and it means that I've got my own stuff. So hopefully it'll be a bit better. But if you're interested in the costs and the boring costs, but the things that you don't think of, and there might be some interest in it, then tell me and I will do a podcast where I go through those costs. If it sounds boring as sin, then again, tell me and I won't waste my time doing it. But it is interesting, and it is, when people grumble about the cost of events, I mean, I get it, because I do events, well, rarely, but I do events myself, and I don't want to pay for these things either. But when people are like, oh, you know, you've only got to do this and that, it's like, yeah, but what about the cost of keeping all the kit somewhere? Gazebos aren't free. Tables need to be replaced, and they've gone up, they've doubled since in price since I started doing this. So it's all these little things that then add up, and then, you know, I do have to eat, and I've got children to try and feed as well. So there's that element to it as well. But it's just, I think it's quite interesting. So yeah, tell me if you don't, and I won't waste my time. Personally as well, because I like to try and get into a bit of that as well, I've been running a little bit. We went away to Lake Annecy, which is in the Alps, and we drove down there in our camper van, which is the first time I've ever done anything like that. It was brilliant. We absolutely loved it. The weather was mixed at best, but we did have quite a few dry days, or big chunks of the day that were dry, and so that made it a bit better than it could have been. I'm going to open a window because I'm starting to melt, and it's night time with the lights on, and I'm sure we won't get covered in bugs, so we'll be absolutely fine. Yeah, so Annecy was great, and then when we were there, I went out for a few little runs, and I went out on one run. So where our campsite was, we essentially were on the side of the lake, well, very close to the side of the lake, and then there was just sort of like a sheer, a sort of runnable, if you went across it, cliff edge, not, you know, start of an Alp, I guess, I don't know. And so I looked and I thought, oh, it'd be cool to run up that. So I went on to Strava to then make it plot me a route, and it plotted me a nice route. I looked at the elevation, it looked sort of punchy but nothing silly, and I could work out where I was going to go. Oh yeah, I'll go and do that. I hadn't actually, apart from a tiny little running belt, I hadn't taken anything with me, which in hindsight and even in foresight was silly, because I'm going running in the mountains. I don't really know where I am, and I should probably have, I don't know, a blanket or something with me just in case. But everything was fine. So I went on this run, absolutely amazing, just nice gentle uphill. I found a lovely waterfall that we then took the kids back to later. It was beautiful, lovely. So then I got a bit cocky at this point. I looked on the map again and saw that if I'd gone the other way, I could get to sort of like the top of this mountain that we could see behind us. And it's not, I say mountain, I think if we'd have gone further into the Alps, it would have been a bump rather than a mountain. But to somebody that lives in the flattest place in the world, it was a mountain. And so anyway, so I got this other route, and it was, it's only 3k to then get to the top, and I do a nice little circle. Excellent. So I start running, everything's fine, and then I'm getting up one bit, and it's very, very stony, and it's getting steeper and steeper. And this is quite dodgy in my road shoes. Actually, no, I'd got some Outras on that I just wear all the time, but I wasn't sort of out in mountaineering stuff. Anyway, so I'm going up, and then I start sort of having to climb a little bit, just sort of steps, and I get to this point of beautiful views at this point, and I'm like, I don't know where the path goes. I don't want to carry on doing this. So I'm like, all right, okay, I'm gonna come back down, which I never go backwards on a run, so that's quite a thing for me to turn back around. Anyway, as I'm turning back around, I then look at the wall, and it's got all the mountaineering stuff that's sort of into the wall, so it's permanent mountaineering course. So I think I'd got to a point where I was meant to then clip on and then climb to get to the top. So clearly I made the right call to turn back around. Anyway, so turned back around, went for a lovely run, but it was beautiful, and we went and saw a stage of the tour while we were out there, which is the first time I've ever done anything like that. The kids loved it, mainly because they picked up a load of free stuff from the caravan. So if you're not aware, and I'll be honest, I wasn't until this year, ahead of the actual tour coming through, they just have loads of sponsors on quad bikes with a load of polystyrene around them to make them look like a pineapple or whatever, and they've just got people on there just throwing stuff out like mad, and it's all hats, t-shirts, key rings, salami, cheese, all sorts. Anyway, so we're stationed sort of near the start, and they're throwing stuff out, and the first two things that get thrown out is a yellow hat and a green hat, and my kids get both of those, and we get tons of stuff. Anyway, so they loved that. And then what they didn't quite realise is that because we were right at the start in the neutralised zone, all the bikes are just sort of together, going fast but not that fast, and they just go past and they're done. And we waited sort of like 2 hours to see some people on bikes go past, not really racing. But where we were going to go to, which was going to be at the bottom of the final climb, I then watched that on the TV, and it was hammering down with rain. So I'm pretty glad we didn't make them go and stand for 4 hours at the bottom of a hill to see people go past quickly either. But that was great fun. And I got some running in, which was good, because that's what I like to try and do and go on holiday. Just go and explore and do things. Like never really a plan as such, but I quite enjoy going out doing things. And it's the first time I've ever been to the Alps, and I think this week, well, I know this week is UTMB at the end of the week, which I'm never going to do. I've got no real aspiration to ever want to do it. And I see all this stuff, and it seems to be the week before is just Chamonix is full of people that aren't ever going to race out there, but they're a Brooks athlete. And then they have the race, and there's just too many people there. It's a bit crazy. Like, it's, you know, I realise that running is a commercial sport. I'm obviously a commercial person within it, but UTMB is the just mental side of that. Like, just absolutely insane. And I think UTMB, I'm not talking as an expert here, but I think UTMB is a very good professional event, but I think a lot of the events that they own and that they do around the country or around the world aren't, and they are poorly put on, and the aid stations are abysmal. And, you know, I had somebody that I know was out doing a UTMB event in the summer, not UTMB, but an event sponsored, owned, whatever, by UTMB, and the people at the aid station were getting drunk. As in, the volunteers at the aid station were all drinking and not paying any attention to anything that they were doing with running through, which is insane. Like, you wouldn't get that at a grassroots running event, and if you did, it wouldn't last, unless it was like a quirk of it, which would be a bit of a weird thing. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just insane. But people get on that UTMB train and they just want to get these stones and go and get them and all this, and yeah, it's crazy. And it's not really for me. I'll probably see bits on social media or whatever and be like, oh yeah, that's cool. But no, it's not what I can do or really what I want to do. If you want to do an event that is really difficult, that isn't in the middle of France, we've got Trailfest coming up. So obviously I jest, but Trailfest is coming up. That's our next event, and it's going to be really good fun. I love that event. It's such a good event. It's a really good course. If you are just a normal trail runner who just runs around their local trails, goes on a few little adventures every now and then, I think it's a tough course. The switchbacks, which is something that I mention about 3 times a day when it's this time of the year, they are tough, but they are 100% doable for everybody. So they're incredibly steep, they're pretty long. Well, no, they're not long, but they repeat each other. And as soon as you go up, you get to the top, you come straight back down. So it's not, oh, you run up and then you have a sort of 50 meters on the flat and then you come back down. It's just sort of triangles. It's just triangle, 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 triangle. But the views are great. It's really nice. Cut-offs, I'd suggest they're generous. It's an 11-hour cut-off for a 10K. I think that's going to be all right for most people. I think a 12-hour cut-off for a 50K is also pretty generous as well. So it's not meant to be that if you don't make it to the end, I want it to be because your legs didn't work, not because my clock has said you can't carry on. And for some people, it might be too much for them to do 50K on a course like that. That's fine. That is how this game works, really. Sometimes it's not your day. But I don't want that to be because the time's stopped. You could do, and there are events out there that have no cut-off. That's fine. That is one way to go. But I've got volunteers that I want to be able to say, yeah, you're going to be able to go and see your family and kids at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. Not, you might be able to go and see your family and kids, but there might be someone that's going really slowly, and so you're going to have to stay around until 10:30. Like, that's not the plan. I don't think there's going to be anybody that finishes within 2 hours of that cutoff. So as much as there is a cutoff, it's not something that really should be the driving force to your training, if that makes sense. But it's a great event. Entries are selling well. I'd expect the 10K and the half marathon to sell out. The 50K has quite a lot of people in it, actually, which is excellent. So I'm going to give a live update as I sit here on numbers for the 50K, which is 55 people. So that's quite cool for that 50K. That'll be quite a few people going around for the majority of the day. But the half marathon and the 10K, I'd be surprised if they don't sell out. They sold out pretty easily last year, and numbers are roughly the same sort of place. So that's going to be brilliant. In terms of other events that we've got coming up, so for 2026, and this isn't something that I've widely shared, I guess, but you're watching this, so I'm thinking you're a bit of a fan, so I'll let you in. The plan is that we're going to be using 3 new venues next year as well. I think they're going to be mostly in addition rather than instead of other events. So there is going to be, and these aren't confirmed, so don't book your taxis. But we're going to be using Braybrook, I think I've got that right, Braybrook Brewery, which is near Market Harborough. And that is going to be for a 6-hour event. So we're going to be using that hopefully in the summer, I think May time. So that's really cool. So it's a tap room, much like Church Farm Brewery, where they've realised that to get the best use out of your beer and your space and your farm, open up a really, really amazing tap room bar type place. Beautiful. And because it's going to be during the day on a Wednesday, I think, there'll be like no one there, so we'll have the whole place to ourselves. It means they've got toilets, means they've got parking, and there is a brand new running route that goes out the back of the tap room called the Griffin Way, which then links onto the Brampton Valley Way. So I'm not completely nailed the course down, but it's going to be really nice mostly across open fields, but on actual gravel path around the open fields. So as much you get to see the beauty of cornfields and stuff like that, which is really nice. Incredibly quiet there. Couldn't hear anything when I was up there, which was lovely. But you don't have to run across horrible rutted fields, which is never much fun. So that's really, really good. So we've got that one coming. And then I think we're going to be going to Pooley Country Park as well. I just need to completely nail that one down. But they're quite keen for me to go there. It's a Warwickshire Country Park. They're excellent to deal with. The cafe there are really keen for us to go there. It's a really nice place, and I've had Anita telling me to look at that place for the last 3 or 4 years. It's only just up the road from Kingsbury Water Park, so it's that sort of area. Really, really nice. Very, very quiet. I'd suggest much quieter than it should be. And then the third venue is going to be for a new trail fest, which I'm not going to discuss where that is, because that one I've not. The other ones is just about sorting dates out, but the new Trail Fest venue requires a little bit more planning. It's beautiful. It's a wedding venue, so we've got big stately home, loads of sort of manicured land, but there's also fields and there's ancient woodland as well. So it's going to be brilliant. Nobody else puts running events on there. They've done running events in the past. People use it as a start and then they run away from it, but nobody actually puts one on that's sort of solely within the grounds. So I'm really, really hopeful that comes off, because that should be really nice. But I don't want to say the name for that one just in case it doesn't come off. For the other two, they will happen. So yeah, I'm trying to add new venues as we go through. Return to some. I mean, we went back to rugby this year. That worked really well. Just trying to mix it up a little bit to keep things fresh and new, because if you've been coming to all of the events for the last 8 years, I don't want things to become stale. I don't want them to be boring. I don't want to completely change it either, though. It works, so I want to keep doing what works, but I don't want somebody to be like, oh, I know what's coming. It's going to be the same thing every single time. And it's even little things like on the aid station. Just rather than having the same food every time, I'll try and mix it up a little bit, which I guess means that if you really, really, really liked something and it doesn't happen to be there, then maybe that annoys you. But, try something new. Try Battenberg. It's just trying to change little things, but not change the essence of what Big Bear's about. So, Pooley Country Park, very similar to lots of our other country parks that we go to. Braybrook is a bit different because it's not in a country park. It is through fields, but it's still going to be a Big Bear event. Everything else is still going to be exactly the same, but it's just, again, something different for people to go and have a little run around. And that's really the full update that I've got, everything to do with Big Bear at the moment. When it's the summer holidays, and I appreciate if you don't have children or your children are in their 40s or something, you might not realise it's the summer holidays at the moment. But having 2 9-year-olds means, and being the primary parent, I guess, means when the summer holidays turn up, my working life completely goes all over the shop. So we get them to do a couple of weeks of some like summer camps, which they really enjoy, which is good, which then means I can do some work during that time. But when they're not doing that, it's very much a case of just trying to keep on top of emails during the day, which I can do on my phone, which is fine, and anything that's a bit heavier or weightier that I need to actually concentrate on, I'll just do that at night. But nothing massive is happening for me during the summer, and that's why there's a big gap between the 13th of July and then the 13th of September. Because if I put the 1 year that I put an event on in August, it was so problematic for me because it was really good. We did it at Southsea Forest, and that was the one where we had the childcare that was sort of, you could have at Southsea. They run or Acorn Nursery run like a forest school during the summer, and so I'd spoken to them and said, look, can you set aside some places at your forest school so people can come and run with us and they can drop their kids at the forest school, they can leave the kids there from 8 till 4, they can run with us from 9 till 3. Perfect, like really good day out. And we had some uptake for that, but not much. But what it then meant was that I had to do something with my kids during the day, which just made my life really difficult. So as my children get older and they can be on the house in their own, they can be in the house on their own as my wife is down here working, then that might be something we go back to doing that, because it was really good. And I loved the fact that it meant that people with young kids could come and run in one of our events, and I really liked that element to it. And I think the more I do that, if I did it every year, I think it would build a bit of a following, and people might hear about it. But yeah, organising events during the summer for me just makes my life more difficult, so I don't tend to do that. But Trailfest is coming up. Like I say, that's selling really well. And then we've got the Kingfisher Challenge, which is the first time we'll have been at Coombe in the autumn. So it's the last day that the meadow is open. And then on the 1st of October, so we're there on the 30th. On the 1st of October, they then lock the meadow down and you can't walk through it, which is why we're there on Tuesday the 30th. We're there in the evening as well for the Petzl Night Trails 10K. First time we've done that at Coombe, but the same setup as we have for the summer 10K, which has always been really popular there. So they're selling really well. So the Kingfisher Challenge, considering that's over a month away, I've got less than 10 places left for that, which it means that will sell out. And the Night Trails 10K is going to be close to selling out, if not selling out. And then the only other events that we've then got for the rest of the year, at the end of November, are the Dormouse Challenge and the Petzl Night Trails 10K, both at Salsey Forest. Again, they will both sell out. The daytime definitely will. That's always our most popular event of the year, and the nighttime one is going to get close as well. The main reason for not having loads of events is because I've learnt after 5 years, it's taken this long to have worked it out, that October is always really bad for my events. I don't know why, really. I know that there are some other big events on, but it's not. I didn't think it was as popular, say, as April racing, but it is. October racing seems to be quite a big thing, and so my numbers fall off a cliff during October. So I thought, right, rather than try and beat it, I'll just give up and not put any events on. And then I have the Wendover Woods 50 miler, which I race direct for Centurion, so that takes out that week. And then it's my kid's birthday as well around that time, so that takes out another bit of time that I can't do things. And so I've got a big chunk of nothingness between the end of September and the end of November. And then I don't do events in December because there's not enough daylight. The latest that we ever did an event, I think, was on the 11th of December, and I remember having to pack up in the dark, and the last person to finish was really close to needing head torch out there, so I just don't bother. So again, I've sort of December and a big chunk of January off. But that allows me to then catch up and do bits that I wanted to get done during the year and try and get the winter jobs done. So it serves a purpose. But yeah, that's all we've got going. So the next podcast that will come out will be post Trailfest. I'm going to try, I say this every time, this is getting boring, but I'm going to try my best to get as much footage as I can from Trailfest. I've got Chrono Sports with us again doing the timing for Trailfest Cannock Chase, the same as they did for Salsey Forest. And getting somebody else to do the timing then just frees me up to just wander around and enjoy myself. So I should be able to get a lot more content and video footage from that event, so we'll see how that goes, but I'm really looking forward to it. If you've got this far and you're able to volunteer for that event, do let me know, because I do need some extra people during the morning if possible. if we don't get them, it's fine, but it'll just make my life a lot easier, and I'll be able to have coffee and just stand around chatting to people, which is excellent. So yeah, next time you hear from me will be after the 13th of September, after a glorious Trailfest Cannock Chase. So enjoy your training, enjoy your running, and I will chat to you soon.